They did not attack soldiers. They did not attack cities. They did not attack weapons or fleets. The Kraith Dominion attacked a small human colony where children laughed under an open sky. The colony was far from Earth, built on a quiet green world called Luma 7. Humans chose this planet because it was peaceful. There were no shields, no armies, no warships in orbit. Only homes, farms, and a learning center where human children studied the stars. On that day, the sky changed color. Blue turned dark. Clouds moved in strange lines. Adults looked up with fear, but the children did not understand. They thought it was a storm. Then the alien ships arrived. Silent, sharp, black like broken space. They did not warn. They did not speak. Energy beams cut through buildings with cold light. Homes fell. The ground shook. Humans screamed and ran, trying to protect the young. But the Kraith soldiers moved fast. They were tall, with metal skin and glowing eyes. They ignored adults. They pushed them aside. Their focus was clear. They went straight to the learning center. Inside, children froze in fear. Teachers stood in front of them, arms wide, shaking but brave. The Kraith did not stop. They fired. The teachers fell. Children cried. Some tried to hide. Some held hands. One small boy dropped his book on the floor. The cover showed a drawing of Earth. The Kraith commander watched without emotion. To them, humans were weak creatures. Soft. Easy. They believed fear was the human core. They were wrong. The Kraith soldiers used energy cuffs and pulled the children away. Some children screamed for their parents. Some were too shocked to speak. Outside, parents ran forward, begging, crying, attacking with bare hands. The Kraith pushed them back with force fields. A mother reached her daughter's hand for 1 second before a blast threw her into the dirt. The child screamed once, then was dragged away. Fires burned behind them. The colony was broken in less than 10 minutes. The Kraith ships lifted into the sky, carrying human children like cargo. On the ground, humans knelt in silence, holding bodies, staring at empty air. The wind carried smoke and ash. No one spoke. Far away, inside a Kraith command ship, the alien leaders watched data screens. The children were locked in cold white rooms. Machines scanned them. The Kraith believed human children held genetic value. They wanted to learn how humans grew so fast, adapted so well, survived everything. To them, this was science. One Kraith officer laughed and said humans would not fight. Humans were traders, builders, dreamers. Not warriors. The commander agreed. He said humans feared loss too much to start war. He was confident. On Luma 7, one human man crawled through fire and broken stone. His arm was bleeding. His face was burned. He reached the learning center ruins and found a small device under the floor. A distress beacon. Old. Hidden. Forbidden to use unless everything was lost. He looked at the empty room where children once sat. He pressed the button. The signal did not scream. It did not beg. It sent a single coded message into space. Simple. Clear. Human children taken. The beacon burned itself after sending. The man closed his eyes. He did not cry. He knew what this message meant. In deep space, far from Luma 7, something ancient received the signal. On Earth, alarms did not sound. No public warning was made. No speech was given. Instead, doors opened that had not been touched for centuries. Deep under mountains and oceans, old fleets woke from sleep. Human leaders stood in silence, reading the message again and again. Some shook. Some whispered prayers. One rule echoed in every human mind, a rule older than space travel. Never touch human children. Back on the Kraith ship, a small human girl sat on the floor, holding her knees. Her eyes were red. A Kraith guard watched her with cold interest. The girl looked up and spoke in a weak voice. She said her father would come. The guard made a harsh sound, something like laughter. He told her humans could not reach them. Space was too big. Humans were too slow. The girl said nothing more. She only looked at the stars through a small window. She did not know fleets were already moving. She did not know that humanity was changing. The Kraith believed the attack was over. They believed the humans would cry, then move on. They believed wrong. In the dark between stars, engines burned to life. Humanity had heard the call. The message did not arrive with noise or light. It arrived with silence. On Earth, deep under layers of rock and steel, the signal reached a chamber few humans knew existed. The room was dark, cold, and old. Screens came alive one by one, showing a single line of code. Human children taken. No names. No numbers. Just those words. The people in the room understood everything from that one sentence. They did not shout. They did not panic. They stood still. Some closed their eyes. Some clenched their fists. A woman in a gray uniform whispered that it had finally happened. Long ago, humanity had written laws not just for war, but for survival. Most of those laws were forgotten, locked away as history. One law was never forgotten. It was never spoken aloud, yet every human leader knew it. If human children are harmed, all limits end. The room filled with low sounds as ancient systems woke up. Doors that had not opened in hundreds of years slowly moved. Lights turned on over massive shapes hidden in the dark. These were not trade ships or explorers. These were war fleets built when humanity was young and afraid of the galaxy. Fleets designed not to win battles, but to end wars forever. On the surface of Earth, people continued their normal lives. No alarms sounded. No news broke the silence. Humanity did not scream its anger. Humanity prepared. Across human space, the same quiet actions began. Shipyards stopped building civilian vessels and switched plans without question. Factories changed purpose in minutes. Old soldiers received messages that did not explain anything, only where to go. They obeyed without asking why. They already knew. In orbit around Mars, a massive ship powered up its core for the first time in 200 years. Its name was carved deep into its hull, a name from old human language that meant guardian. On the bridge, a human commander stood alone, reading the report. He saw images of the colony on Luma 7. Burned homes. Broken ground. Empty classrooms. He paused at one image of a child's book lying in ash. His jaw tightened. He gave no speech. He only gave orders. Move all fleets. No delay. No retreat. Meanwhile, the Kraith Dominion celebrated. In their command halls, leaders spoke of success. They believed they had struck fear into humanity. They believed humans would beg, trade, or surrender knowledge to get their children back. Kraith scientists studied the captured children, speaking of data and progress. They did not see enemies. They saw tools. A Kraith scout officer reported strange energy movement near human borders. The council dismissed it. Humans were slow. Humans argued too much. Humans feared loss. They would not risk war. The Kraith had seen this before with other species. They believed all races broke the same way. They did not understand humans were different. Humans did not break loudly. They broke inward. On a human colony far from Earth, a father received a coded message. It contained no words, only a symbol used only once in human history. He dropped to his knees. Around him, others did the same as they received the signal. No one cried. No one asked questions. They began packing, preparing, saying quiet goodbyes. In space, human fleets moved without lights, without signals. They did not announce themselves. They traveled through dark paths mapped long ago. Their ships were heavy, scarred, built for pain. Inside one transport ship, soldiers sat in silence, checking weapons, touching small personal items. One soldier held a child's drawing. Another whispered a name. None of them doubted the mission. On the Kraith prison ship, the human children were moved again. Deeper. Farther. The Kraith wanted to hide them where humans could never reach. A Kraith officer watched star charts and laughed, saying humans would never cross that distance in time. He did not notice the stars behind him slowly disappearing as human fleets bent space itself. On Earth, the final approval was given. No vote. No debate. One human leader spoke a single sentence. Bring them home. At that moment, Humanity crossed a line it hoped never to cross again. Restraints were removed. Old weapons were unlocked. Not because humans wanted destruction, but because they wanted certainty. Certainty that no one would ever do this again. Far out in space, Kraith sensors finally detected something wrong. Entire regions of space went dark. Communication relays failed. Patrol ships vanished without sending warnings. A Kraith captain reported seeing shadows moving between stars. The Council ordered calm. They said it was nothing. Then the first human fleet emerged at the edge of Kraith territory. Thousands of ships. Silent. Perfectly aligned. The stars behind them vanished under their shadow. The Kraith realized too late that humanity had not come to talk. Humanity had come to end a mistake. The Kraith High Council gathered in a hall made of black crystal and metal. Tall pillars reached the ceiling, glowing with cold blue light. Large screens showed the first images of the human fleets at the edge of Kraith space. The ships were massive, dark, and silent. To the Kraith leaders, this was surprising but not frightening. They believed size meant nothing without courage. One council elder spoke calmly, saying humans always arrived loudly when they were afraid, but this fleet was quiet. He believed the silence meant doubt. Another leader said humans would send messages soon, asking for talks, offering trade, offering anything to get their children back. The council agreed. They ordered no attack. They wanted to watch humanity beg. On a nearby command ship, a Kraith admiral studied the human formation. He noticed something strange. The ships did not move like fleets ready for defense. They moved like hunters. He reported this concern to the council. They ignored him. Humans were builders, not predators. That was the Kraith belief. On the human flagship, the commander stood on the bridge, eyes fixed forward. Around him, officers waited for orders. No one spoke unless needed. The fleet moved deeper into Kraith space without slowing. Human scanners mapped every defense, every station, every ship. They were not guessing. They already knew this space. Humanity had studied the Kraith long before this day, quietly, patiently. A human officer asked if they should send a message. The commander answered with one word. No. Humanity was past words. On the Kraith prison world, human children were held in underground facilities. The air was cold. Lights were harsh. Kraith scientists moved between rooms, studying the children like objects. They spoke about bones, blood, growth speed. They did not use names. One child asked where their parents were. A scientist did not answer. Another child tried to fight, hitting a console with small fists. The scientist pushed the child away without anger, without care. To them, this was normal. Back in space, the first human probe entered a Kraith defense zone. It was detected. Kraith guns locked on and fired. The probe did not dodge. It did not flee. It took the hits and kept moving, collecting data until it was destroyed. Kraith officers laughed. They believed humans sent weak machines first because they were afraid. They did not realize the probe had already given humanity everything it needed. The human fleet adjusted its path by a fraction. That small change placed them exactly between Kraith defense nets. The Kraith admiral watched this and felt unease for the first time. Humans were not reacting. They were predicting. He sent another warning to the council. Again, it was dismissed. The council decided to make a show of power. They ordered a border station to fire a warning shot at the human fleet. The station charged its main weapon and fired a beam of energy across space. The beam passed close to the human ships, lighting their hulls in blue. The human fleet did not stop. It did not change speed. It did not respond. The Kraith leaders were confused. No species ignored a warning like that. One council member suggested humans did not understand the threat. Another suggested humans were bluffing. The Kraith decided to push harder. They ordered a patrol group to move forward and intercept the human formation. The patrol ships moved fast, weapons ready. As they closed in, the human fleet finally reacted. Not with chaos, but with precision. Human ships separated smoothly, opening a clear path. A single human destroyer moved forward. It was smaller than the patrol group but moved with calm confidence. The Kraith Patrol commander demanded identification. The human ship sent no reply. The Kraith fired. The human destroyer activated its shields and absorbed the attack without slowing. Then it fired once. The Kraith patrol ships vanished in a flash of white light. There was no explosion. No debris. Just empty space. Silence followed. On the Kraith Council screens, the patrol group disappeared. The room fell quiet. Some leaders stood. Some demanded explanations. The Kraith admiral stared at the empty space where the ships had been. He understood then. Humans were not weak. They were controlled. And control meant power. On the human flagship, the commander gave the first new order since entering Kraith space. Advance. Full speed. No evasive action. The fleet obeyed. They moved like a single living thing. Across Kraith space, alarms finally began to sound. Stations reported systems failing without being attacked. Communication relays went dark. Navigation points vanished. The Kraith Dominion felt fear for the first time. They had expected anger. They had expected noise. They had expected humans to shout their pain. Instead, humanity had arrived like a quiet storm. And the storm was just beginning. The silence ended with a single message. It did not come with threats or long speeches. It appeared on every Kraith screen at the same time, from warships to council halls to prison worlds. The message was short and clear. Return the human children. The Kraith High Council stared at the words. Some leaders laughed in disbelief. Others felt anger. No species had ever spoken to the Dominion like this. The council argued. One elder said giving back the children would make the Kraith look weak. Another said humans would attack no matter what, so surrender was pointless. The loudest voice belonged to the Supreme Overseer, who declared the children valuable assets and ordered the message ignored. To show strength, he commanded a public execution of one human child, broadcast across Kraith space. He believed fear would break humanity. On the prison world, guards pulled a young boy from his cell. The child was shaking but silent. A Kraith officer announced the act as justice. The execution was swift. The signal reached the human fleet seconds later. On the human flagship, officers froze as the image appeared. No one spoke. The commander closed his eyes. His hands trembled once, then became still. He opened his eyes and gave a single order. Execute Phase 1. Across the fleet, systems changed state. Weapons that had never been used powered up. The human ships did not shout or charge blindly. They moved with cold purpose. The first target was a Kraith military world, not a capital, not a civilian center. It was a fortress planet filled with weapons, fleets, and command nodes. The Kraith believed it was untouchable. Human ships appeared around it without warning. The planet fired everything it had. Missiles, beams, drones filled space. Human defenses absorbed the storm. Then humanity struck back. Precision weapons cut through shields like paper. Defense grids shut down one by one. Human fire did not burn the planet. It carved it. Bases collapsed. Ships fell from orbit. In less than 5 minutes, the fortress world was silent. No civilians were harmed. No cities touched. The message was clear. Humanity could destroy everything, but chose not to. On the Kraith Council screens, panic spread. Advisors shouted reports. Entire fleets were gone. Systems were failing. Borders were collapsing. The Supreme Overseer demanded retaliation. He ordered a counterattack on human colonies. The Kraith fleets moved, but they never reached their targets. Human ships were already waiting. Kraith vessels vanished before they could fire. It felt like the humans were everywhere at once. On the human flagship, the commander watched calmly. He did not smile. He did not celebrate. He only asked one question. Are the children alive? The answer was partial. Some were alive. Some were not. The commander nodded once. Phase 2. Human fleet split and moved deeper into Kraith space. Supply lines were cut. Communication centers vanished. The Kraith Dominion began to fall apart from the inside. Worlds were isolated. Fleets were blind. On the prison world, Guards felt the ground shake as systems failed. Lights flickered. Doors unlocked by accident. Children cried and held each other. A human child looked up as the ceiling cracked slightly. Far away, on the council world, the overseer realized his mistake. Humans had not come for revenge alone. They had come for control. The council tried to send a surrender signal. It never reached the fleet. Human ships blocked it silently. The overseer screamed that humans were monsters. An advisor whispered the truth. Monsters did not warn. Humans did. And the warning had been ignored. On Earth, the leaders watched reports come in. No cheering. No joy. Only grim focus. Humanity did not enjoy this. But humanity accepted it. Because some lines could never be crossed. In Kraith space, a human fleet stopped near the prison world. Human special forces prepared to move. The commander watched the planet on the screen. Somewhere below, children waited in fear. He leaned forward and spoke softly, not to his crew, but to the stars. "We are coming." The Kraith Dominion had believed the execution would end the threat. Instead, it had unlocked something humanity kept buried. Humanity did not warn twice. The Kraith Dominion had always believed their core worlds were safe. They had layers of defense, fleets on constant patrol, and weapons designed to break any enemy before it reached them. When human fleets moved deeper into Kraith space, the Dominion expected them to slow down, to hesitate, to choose targets carefully. Humanity did not hesitate. The first planet chosen was not famous, not beautiful, and not full of civilians. It was a production world, covered in factories that built weapons, ships, and armor for the Dominion. The Kraith believed this planet was the heart of their strength. Humanity saw it as the root of the problem. Human fleets arrived in perfect formation. No signals. No warnings. Kraith defense platforms opened fire immediately. Space filled with light and noise as energy beams crossed the void. Human shields held. Human ships adjusted by small movements, avoiding damage with calm precision. The Kraith commanders shouted orders, trying to overwhelm the humans with numbers. They did not understand that humanity had already measured every shot. When the human counterattack began, it was controlled and exact. Human weapons struck only military targets. Factory power cores were disabled. Shipyards collapsed into themselves. Orbital docks fell from the sky and burned in the atmosphere. The planet's surface did not explode. Instead, it slowly went dark. One factory after another shut down. The Kraith watched in horror as centuries of military power disappeared in minutes. This was not rage. This was surgery. On the human flagship, the commander watched reports flow in. Damage confirmed. No civilian casualties. The order was followed perfectly. Humanity was not there to kill blindly. Humanity was there to remove the Dominion's ability to fight. On the Kraith Council world, panic spread faster than fire. Leaders argued loudly. Some demanded peace talks. Others demanded total war. The Supreme Overseer slammed his claws on the floor and ordered every remaining fleet to defend the core worlds. He also ordered the human children moved again, deeper into Kraith territory, to a location even the Council did not fully control. He believed the children were still leverage. On the prison transport ships, guards rushed children through dark corridors. Alarms echoed. A small girl stumbled and fell. A guard pulled her up roughly. She looked at him with tired eyes and asked if her mother was alive. The guard did not answer. He turned away. Somewhere inside him, something felt wrong, but he ignored it. Back in space, human fleets continued forward. They did not chase fleeing Kraith ships. They let them run. Fear would spread faster than destruction. Human intelligence units watched Kraith communications collapse into chaos. Orders contradicted each other. Fleets moved without coordination. Humanity had planned for this. The second human strike hit a ship assembly ring near a gas giant. Kraith workers fled as human fire cut the structure apart piece by piece. The ring broke, sections drifting into the planet's gravity and burning like falling stars. Across Kraith space, worlds went silent as supply lines failed. The Dominion's strength was bleeding away. Still, humanity did not touch civilian cities. This confused the Kraith deeply. Other species destroyed everything when angry. Humans did not. They were patient. They were deliberate. On the human flagship, an officer asked if they should push harder. The commander shook his head. Not yet. First we teach them what control looks like. On Earth, analysts watched the progress with heavy hearts. They knew this path could not be undone. Humanity was showing the galaxy a truth it rarely revealed. Humans were not peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they chose to be. The Kraith learned this lesson too late. A Kraith admiral finally understood the scale of the mistake. He sent a private message to the human fleet, begging for mercy, offering everything. The message was received. It was not answered. Humanity had already spoken. The first planet burned, not in fire, but in loss. The Kraith Dominion felt the weight of human wrath settle over their empire. And far below, on a hidden transport moving through dark space, human children waited, unaware that the galaxy itself was changing for them. Humanity moved forward, but inside every human ship there was a quiet struggle. Humans were winning too easily. Kraith defenses were failing faster than expected. Worlds fell silent without long battles. For many species, this would be a moment of pride. For humans, it was a warning. The human commander knew this feeling. He had read the old history, the wars from before humanity reached the stars. Wars where humans lost control. Wars where victory turned into shame. He remembered the stories of planets burned, of enemies erased, of humans becoming the very monsters they once feared. That was why humanity had written rules. That was why limits existed. Not to protect others, but to protect themselves. On the bridge, the commander stood still as reports came in. Another Kraith weapons hub destroyed. Another fleet neutralized. Still no sign of the children's final location. His jaw tightened. He feared the moment when patience would run out. Across the fleet, soldiers felt it too. Rage pressed against discipline like fire behind glass. They thought of the images from Luma 7. Empty classrooms. Broken homes. Small shoes in the dirt. Each memory made control harder. A young officer whispered that the Kraith deserved total destruction. An older captain answered quietly that destruction was easy. Control was hard. On Earth, human leaders watched feeds from the war. Some remembered being children themselves, sitting safely in schools, trusting the world around them. That trust had been broken. One leader asked if humanity was doing the right thing. Another answered that there was no right choice anymore, only necessary ones. Deep in Kraith space, the Dominion tried to recover. Emergency councils formed on surviving worlds. Orders were sent, then cancelled, then changed again. The Kraith were not built for this kind of war. They relied on fear and numbers. Humanity used patience and planning. A Kraith general proposed using the children as shields, placing them on civilian worlds to slow human attacks. Another general objected, warning it would push humans too far. The Supreme Overseer listened and smiled coldly. He believed humans already feared going too far. He believed they would stop themselves. On the prison transport, human children were packed tightly into cold rooms. Food was limited. Lights stayed on all the time. Some children cried softly. Others sat in silence, exhausted. One older child tried to comfort the younger ones, telling them humans would come. He did not know if it was true, but he believed it. Belief was all he had. In human space, belief was turning into action. A new type of human unit was deployed. Not fleets. Not bombers. Quiet ships designed for one purpose only: retrieval. They carried no flags, no symbols. Only soldiers trained to move through darkness and bring people home. The commander authorized their launch. He hesitated before giving the order, knowing what it meant. Retrieval units meant the war was entering its most dangerous phase. Close contact. High risk. High emotion. Humans feared this stage because control was hardest when faces were close. As the units moved, human fleets slowed their advance slightly. This confused the Kraith. Some believed it meant humans were tiring. Others believed it meant fear had finally taken hold. The Supreme Overseer announced this to the Dominion, claiming victory was near. He ordered a final stand at a fortified region near the core worlds. He did not realize the human fleets were no longer the main threat. In the dark between stars, retrieval units slipped past defenses using paths mapped long ago. They did not attack. They did not fire. They watched. They listened. They followed the trail of fear left by the moving children. On one Kraith world, a human retrieval team observed a convoy from orbit. Heat signatures matched human body sizes. The team leader closed his eyes for 1 second. Then he opened them and marked the target. On the human flagship, the commander received the signal. Location confirmed. His shoulders dropped slightly, not in relief, but in weight. Now came the hardest part. Saving the children without becoming what the galaxy feared. He spoke to the fleet, not with anger, but with warning. We hold the line. We do not lose ourselves. Across human ships, acknowledgments came back, calm and firm. Humanity remembered why it feared losing control. Because once control was gone, nothing could stop them. And somewhere deep in Kraith space, the moment was coming when humanity would be tested, not by strength, but by restraint. The prison world had no real name, only a code in Kraith systems. It was a cold planet with thick gray clouds and a surface covered in metal structures and deep tunnels. From orbit, it looked empty, almost dead. That was the lie. Beneath the surface, thousands of lights burned day and night, feeding power to laboratories and holding cells. Human children were kept there, far from stars, far from hope. The Kraith believed distance meant safety. They believed no enemy would dare attack such a place. On the surface, storm winds howled across metal towers. Inside the underground prison, the air was dry and cold. The children were separated into small groups. The rooms were white, with smooth walls and no windows. Sounds echoed strangely, making even small noises feel loud. Some children cried quietly. Others sat in silence, too tired to cry anymore. Guards walked past the doors, their heavy steps slow and steady. They spoke little. To them, the children were not people. They were items. In one room, a small boy counted the days by scratching marks on the floor with his fingernail. He did not know how many days had passed. He only knew the marks helped him remember he was still real. A girl sat beside him, holding a broken piece of plastic she pretended was a toy. She whispered stories about Earth, about trees and rain and blue skies. The younger children listened, eyes wide, holding on to every word. The stories made the cold feel less sharp. Above the planet, far beyond Kraith sensors, human retrieval units waited in silence. Their ships were dark, coated to hide all energy signs. Inside, soldiers checked gear and spoke in low voices. No one joked. No one smiled. Each soldier carried something personal, a reminder of why they were there. A photo. A drawing. A name written on a glove. The team leader reviewed the layout of the prison. Multiple layers. Heavy security. Automated defenses. This was not a place built to keep prisoners alive long term. It was built to keep secrets hidden. The human commander authorized the operation. No heavy weapons. No orbital strikes. The children were too close. Control mattered more than speed. The human ships slipped through the atmosphere during a storm, hidden by noise and lightning. They landed far from the main facilities and moved underground through old mining tunnels. Kraith sensors failed to notice them. The Dominion relied on fear and force, not imagination. Humans used both. Inside the prison, a guard paused when he heard a strange sound in the walls. He dismissed it as old metal shifting. He never saw the human soldier step out behind him. The takedown was silent. One by one, guards fell without alarms. Human teams moved like shadows, marking paths, disabling systems. They avoided open conflict. Every action was careful. Every breath controlled. In one corridor, a young human soldier stopped when he heard crying through a wall. He pressed his hand against the metal for 1 second before moving on. He could not stop yet. Not until it was safe. In the central lab, Kraith scientists worked without fear, confident in their defenses. They never saw the humans until the lights went out. Emergency power failed seconds later. Darkness filled the room. A calm human voice spoke from the shadows. "Sit down. Do not move." The scientists froze. Fear flooded their minds for the first time. Human teams reached the holding cells. Doors were forced open quietly. The first child looked up and did not understand what he saw. A tall figure in dark armor knelt down and removed a helmet. A human face appeared. Soft. Tired. Smiling. "It's okay," the soldier said. "We're here." The child stared, then began to cry. Other doors opened. More children saw human faces. Some ran forward. Some froze in shock. Soldiers moved slowly, gently, speaking softly, guiding them together. The prison filled with small voices, confused, scared, hopeful. Above them, alarms finally began to sound. Kraith systems woke up too late. Defense turrets activated. The human team leader received a warning. Enemy response incoming. Evacuation window closing. He looked at the gathered children. Not all were here yet. He made a choice. Split teams. Get them all. The soldiers nodded and moved. Time slowed. Every step mattered. Every second cost lives. In orbit, human fleets adjusted position, ready to act if needed. The commander watched the timer count down. He did not blink. The Kraith Dominion had built a prison to break children. Instead, they had created the place where humanity would come face to face with its deepest promise. And as alarms echoed through the underground halls, the prison of small voices began to fall apart. The moment the alarms reached full volume, the prison world came alive with danger. Red lights flashed through tunnels and halls. Heavy doors slammed shut, trying to trap the human teams inside. Kraith security forces poured in from every direction, weapons charged, voices sharp with anger and fear. They had not expected humans to come this close. They had not expected humans to touch their deepest secret. In the holding areas, human soldiers gathered the children into tight groups, forming living walls around them. Weapons were lowered, bodies turned sideways, shields angled outward. The priority was clear. Nothing reached the children. A Kraith squad fired blindly down a corridor. Energy bolts slammed into human shields, shaking arms and burning air. A soldier stepped forward, absorbing the hits, his armor cracking. He did not move back. He did not fire until the children were pushed safely behind cover. When he did fire, it was fast and exact. The Kraith squad fell. No wasted shots. No rage. Only purpose. In another tunnel, a Kraith heavy unit blocked the path to an exit. The team leader assessed the situation in seconds. A direct fight would risk the children. He ordered a collapse instead. Human charges placed carefully along the tunnel wall detonated in a controlled way, sealing the Kraith unit behind tons of stone and metal without killing them. The path forward opened. Humanity did not need revenge here. They needed safety. The children moved slowly, some limping, some carried in human arms. Soldiers spoke softly, using simple words, promising warmth and food and home. A small child asked if the noise meant the stars were angry. A soldier answered that the stars were helping them. The child nodded, trusting completely. That trust burned in every human heart like fire. Kraith commanders rushed to the surface, ordering orbital defenses to fire. They did not know human fleets had already disabled most of the systems. The few that activated were destroyed before they could lock targets. In orbit, human ships took hits meant for the extraction transports. They shifted position without hesitation, placing themselves between danger and the evacuation path. Some ships were damaged. None broke formation. On the ground, the final holding cells were breached. More children were found, weaker, frightened, but alive. A human medic knelt, checking pulses, giving water, wrapping small hands in warm cloth. The medic's hands shook, not from fear, but from holding back emotion. He had children of his own. He did not think about that now. He could not. Kraith reinforcements closed in. Corridors filled with smoke and sparks. A human soldier was hit while covering a doorway. He fell, but pushed a child through the exit first. Another soldier pulled him back, dragging him despite incoming fire. No one was left behind. Not soldiers. Not children. Outside, storm winds battered the landing zone. Human transports descended through fire and debris. Pilots held steady under impossible conditions, trusting ground teams completely. One transport took a direct hit and veered off course. Another ship moved instantly to block further fire, sacrificing its own shield strength. The damaged transport stabilized and landed. The children were loaded first. Always first. As the last group boarded, a massive explosion rocked the prison complex. Kraith forces had triggered a self-destruct, hoping to kill humans and children together. Human teams were already moving. They sprinted, carrying the wounded, pushing through falling debris. The blast chased them out of the tunnels, but they made it. The transports lifted off just as the underground structures collapsed into fire and dust. From orbit, the prison world showed deep scars, but it still stood. Humanity had taken what mattered. On the human flagship, the commander received confirmation. All children accounted for. Alive. He exhaled for the first time in days. Around him, officers allowed themselves a moment of quiet relief. It did not last long. Sensors reported massive Kraith fleet movements. The Dominion was gathering everything it had left. They were angry. They were desperate. Humanity had touched their pride. The commander straightened and gave the next order. Secure the children. Prepare the fleet. Across human space, the story spread. Humans had not fought like conquerors. They had fought like parents. And for any species watching from the shadows of the galaxy, a truth was becoming clear. Hurting human children was not just a crime. It was a declaration of extinction. The Kraith Dominion was in chaos. Their fleets scattered, communication networks collapsed, and entire command stations went silent. They expected humanity to strike faster, to show rage in waves of destruction, but humanity did not move that way. The human commander understood something the Kraith could not. Wrath was not measured in speed. It was measured in precision. Human fleets spread across Kraith space, not to destroy everything, but to remove the Dominion's ability to fight. Supply hubs vanished. Weapon factories were disabled. Patrol fleets fell into traps laid long before the first children were taken. Humanity was everywhere and nowhere at once. The Kraith tried to regroup. They sent fleets to reclaim lost territory, to defend the few remaining strongholds, but human ships anticipated each move. They blocked escape routes, cut reinforcements, and captured strategic positions without firing a shot. Each move was deliberate. Every decision calculated. The Kraith began to panic. Leaders argued, shouting over failing communication channels, blaming one another for the loss of control. The Supreme Overseer demanded a full assault on human-controlled space. His advisors warned him. Humanity's response was not fast, they said, but it was certain. To strike prematurely was to lose even more. The Overseer ignored them, ordering fleets to fire on what little human outposts were nearby. The humans did not engage. They let the fleets run into ambushes, disabled their weapons remotely, and captured the ships without a single casualty. The Kraith could not comprehend it. They had always relied on fear and overwhelming force. Humanity relied on patience, intelligence, and restraint. Far in orbit around a key Kraith world, human retrieval units moved again, carrying the children to safety. The Kraith fired every available weapon. Beams, missiles, drones filled space. The units dodged and weaved through chaos, using every shadow and every blind spot. No child was harmed. Every soldier protecting them moved like a parent, placing themselves between danger and innocence. On the flagship, the commander watched the entire operation in silence. Every ship, every weapon, every child accounted for. No mistakes. Humans could destroy worlds in minutes, but they chose not to. They moved with mercy, because mercy was power. Deep inside the Kraith Empire, council chambers burned with debate. Advisors begged for negotiation. They offered the return of human children if the humans would leave Kraith space. The Supreme Overseer refused. Humans were not bargaining. Humans were delivering judgment. Every paused move, every careful step reminded the Kraith that they were no longer just facing enemies. They were facing a species that measured wrath like a blade, slow, deliberate, and sharp enough to cut through centuries of arrogance. The children, unaware of the galaxy-wide war, whispered softly among themselves. Some asked when they would see their parents. Others stayed silent, trusting the humans who had saved them. The retrieval units moved like shadows, protecting them from every danger. In orbit, the Kraith fleets realized their weapons were useless. Even the massive orbital cannons could not hit moving human ships. Human electronic warfare units disabled targeting arrays, scrambled sensors, and made every attempt to fire back futile. Entire defense systems were captured intact without a shot fired. The Supreme Overseer screamed, demanding action, but every choice he made led to further loss. His fleets were trapped by patience. Humanity's wrath was not fast, but it was unstoppable. On Earth, leaders watched the reports unfold. They understood the message humanity sent. The galaxy would see it too. Humans did not need to attack every world. They only needed to show that attacking children had consequences. That was enough. The Kraith Dominion had believed they were untouchable. They had thought the children were just pawns. They had thought humans would beg, plead, or surrender quietly. They were wrong. Humanity's patience, their deliberate restraint, was far more terrifying than immediate destruction. It taught the Kraith that every move they made could be predicted, countered, and punished. And far beyond Kraith space, other species whispered in fear. Humanity had risen not in speed, but in control. Wrath was coming slowly, measured in steps, in tactics, in precision, and the galaxy had no idea what was next. The human commander gave one final order for the phase: consolidate forces, protect the children, and prepare for the final strike. Every officer understood without question. Humanity's wrath was not fast, but when it struck, it left nothing standing in its path that deserved to remain. The Kraith would learn soon enough that underestimating humans was the deadliest mistake they could make. The Kraith Dominion had gathered its remaining leaders on the Central Council world, a massive dark fortress orbiting a dying star. The walls were black metal, glowing faintly with blue veins of energy. Screens lined the halls, showing the human fleets advancing steadily, controlled, silent, unstoppable. The Supreme Overseer slammed his claws on the council table, demanding answers. Advisors shouted reports, each worse than the last. Entire border sectors had fallen. Supply worlds were gone. Communication relays were disabled. Fleets vanished without trace. The Overseer's voice trembled with rage, but no one dared interrupt. They all knew it had begun. Humanity had come to judge, and the Kraith had no defense. Outside the council chambers, alarms rang across the planet. Defense turrets fired at shadows, energy beams scanning empty space. The humans did not respond, not yet. Humanity was patient. Inside the council, one elder spoke quietly, a whisper beneath the Overseer's fury. They are not attacking like enemies. They are teaching us a lesson. The Overseer roared, refusing to accept the truth. He called for a final strike on human forces, the largest in their history. Fleets were ordered to converge on one location, to crush what remained before it could reach the prison world holding the children. The orders were relayed. Outside, Kraith ships moved quickly, firing at targets marked by their commanders. The humans watched. They moved silently. Every Kraith strike missed. Weapons malfunctioned, ships fell into traps, fleets were disabled without even being destroyed. The Kraith could not understand. They had always fought with speed and fear, overwhelming enemies before they could plan. Humanity did not fight like that. Humanity moved with precision, patience, and control. On one screen, a Kraith officer saw something he would never forget. The human fleet was positioned perfectly to strike the council world if it moved. Not yet. Not fast. Just enough to warn. Humanity's warning was a shadow over the planet, a calm reminder of power. On the prison world, children huddled together as the ground shook from distant explosions. The humans above worked silently, coordinating extraction while keeping every child safe. Each operator understood the stakes. Every life mattered. Back on the council world, the Supreme Overseer demanded to know why humans were not attacking fully. One advisor finally spoke. They are teaching us patience. They are showing us control. They could destroy us in minutes, yet they do not. The Overseer's claws struck the table again, shaking the floor. He would not accept the lesson. Humanity would pay for the audacity of restraint. A Kraith general proposed using the children as leverage, moving them to another hidden world. Another advisor warned that this would break the Kraith entirely, that humans would not hesitate a second time if their children were threatened again. The overseer ignored the warning. Pride was stronger than sense. Meanwhile, human fleets adjusted position. Ships carrying the children moved closer to extraction points. Special units coordinated silently with the main fleet, marking every Kraith system, every patrol, every weak point. Humans could have destroyed the Council world in moments, but the commander chose not to. The point was not to kill. The point was to enforce a rule. On the Council world, panic spread. Advisors shouted, arguing, blaming, begging. Orders contradicted one another. Fleets moved into traps they did not see. Human strike units disabled weapons silently from orbit, cutting the planet's ability to defend itself. The Supreme Overseer realized something too late. Humans were not just a threat. They were the final judgment. Every mistake made by the Kraith was visible now. Every choice they had taken to harm children had led to this moment. On the prison world, the children heard faint sounds of movement above. Some cried. Some whispered, hoping it was humans. The humans below kept them calm. One soldier held a small child and said softly, "We are here. Do not worry. We will not let anything harm you." Outside, Kraith reinforcements moved toward the prison, but every approach was blocked or neutralized without a fight. Humanity had already calculated every possibility. The Council world screens flickered with messages of losses, failures, and impossibilities. The Overseer realized that he was out of options. Human fleets were everywhere. They could strike from any angle. They had full control, yet no chaos was wasted. Humanity did not need to scream. They did not need to destroy. They only needed to show that they could. And now, the Supreme Overseer knew the truth. Humans had arrived, not to negotiate, not to bargain, not to beg. They had come to judge, and judgment was precise, patient, and absolute. The human commander finally sent a single message to the Kraith Council. It appeared on every screen, black letters on a white background. Return the children. Surrender your fleets. Your species has chosen poorly. The message was calm. No threats. No anger. Just fact. The Supreme Overseer trembled. Every leader in the council chamber felt it. Humanity had not lost control. Humanity had been patient. They had measured every move. And now they were ready. The shadows of human fleets loomed over the council world, a promise of judgment without haste. And far below, in hidden corridors, the children waited, unaware that the fate of an empire hung above them. The Kraith would soon learn what all species must learn. Humanity protects its own. Humanity does not beg. Humanity does not negotiate when its children are threatened. And humanity's wrath is deliberate, patient, and inescapable. The Kraith Dominion faced a truth they had never imagined. Their fleets were crippled. Their worlds were isolated. Their councils were paralyzed with fear. Humanity did not rush. Humanity did not shout. Humanity moved like a silent judgment across their empire. The Supreme Overseer refused to surrender. He believed that his pride, his species, and his empire were worth more than the lives of his children. Other council members pleaded for negotiation, for mercy, for survival. They offered everything they could imagine: resources, technology, slaves, even the humans themselves. The Supreme Overseer rejected every offer. He believed that humans would not strike. He believed humanity feared crossing lines they themselves had built. On the human flagship, the commander observed every Kraith move. Every hesitation, every miscalculation, every desperate action. He had predicted all of it. Human weapons were ready but held. Human fleets moved to block escape routes and isolate core worlds, but they did not attack the Kraith people unnecessarily. Their goal was clear: end the Dominion without destroying life that did not threaten human children. The human retrieval teams continued their careful work. Children were escorted to secure transports. Every corridor was scanned for traps. Every move was deliberate. Soldiers moved like shadows, silent, precise, protective. A small girl clutched a drawing of her home and whispered her hope that she would see it again. A soldier smiled faintly and told her, "You will." Above them, the Kraith fleets attempted one last counterattack. Missile swarms, energy beams, and assault ships tried to overwhelm the human blockade. They were destroyed without losses to the human side. The Dominion had underestimated humanity's patience and planning. The Supreme Overseer realized that he had only one choice left: surrender or face complete extinction. His pride refused. He refused to bow, to yield, to admit that humans had been stronger not because of firepower but because of control. The human commander sent one final message to the Kraith capital: extinction is your choice. Surrender now or face the consequences of your actions. Silence followed. The Overseer stared at the message, his claws shaking. No response came. He understood that no response would end in mercy. On the prison transport, the last children were loaded. Soldiers secured them in special pods designed for protection and comfort. Every child was accounted for. Some cried silently. Others whispered names of parents they hoped were alive. Every child was safe. Above, human fleets held position, blocking all possible escape paths. Every Kraith world that had tried to flee was already under control. The Supreme Overseer made his final decision. Pride outweighed survival. He sent orders to fleets to assemble for a desperate strike on the human command center. His hope was that a sudden attack could break the humans' patience. He believed their restraint was fragile. Humanity did not react immediately. They allowed the fleets to move into calculated zones where human weapons could neutralize them without destroying civilian life. Kraith ships vanished one by one. Their energy cores were disabled. Their systems shut down. Pilots and soldiers were captured without violence whenever possible. The Supreme Overseer's confidence crumbled. He saw now that humans had measured every step and left no room for error. He understood that the destruction of his empire was not fast, but it was inevitable. On the human flagship, the commander spoke to his officers quietly. No lives will be wasted unnecessarily. Let them choose extinction. They have already chosen poorly. Human fleets held position, ready to enforce the final judgment. In the council chambers of the Kraith capital, leaders debated frantic last-minute options. Some begged to surrender. Some wanted to fight until the last moment. The Overseer's refusal sealed the fate of their species. Humanity did not hurry. They moved deliberately, enforcing consequences slowly but with certainty. Fleets cut off the last escape routes. Defense systems were neutralized without destruction. Civilian populations were protected wherever possible. The message was clear: harming human children would not go unpunished. Anywhere that resisted would face total eradication. In orbit, human observation units watched as the Supreme Overseer's fleets prepared for final confrontation. Every ship, every weapon, every maneuver had been predicted and accounted for. Human forces waited patiently for the final choice: surrender or extinction. And finally, the Supreme Overseer transmitted a single message refusing surrender. Humanity responded with controlled precision. Planetary shields were disabled, weapons fired selectively, fleets neutralized. The Dominion's final battle was swift, precise, and absolute. When it ended, entire Kraith fleets were gone, and their worlds lay in silence, untouched where life had no part in the aggression. On Earth, human leaders received reports without celebration. Humanity had enforced judgment, not vengeance. Children were safe. Humanity had shown the galaxy a law older than space: harm human children, and you risk your entire species. Somewhere among the stars, other civilizations watched, learning quietly the cost of underestimating humans. Extinction was a choice, and the Kraith had made it. The Kraith Dominion had fallen into silence. Their fleets were destroyed, their worlds crippled, and their leadership gone. The Supreme Overseer had vanished, leaving nothing but empty halls and echoes of orders never fulfilled. Humanity did not celebrate. They did not raise flags or broadcast victories. Their work was not over until every child was safe, and every threat to the children neutralized. On the human flagship, the commander stood alone on the bridge, looking at the stars where the remnants of the Kraith fleets had once moved. Reports came in from every fleet, every retrieval team, and every sensor. Not a single child had been lost. Some soldiers were wounded, but none had died. Humanity had protected its own, and in doing so, had rewritten the rules of the galaxy. The last Kraith worlds were under observation. Automated defense systems were left in place, neutralized but intact, to serve as reminders. Humanity did not destroy unnecessarily. Their restraint was the sharpest weapon of all. On the prison transport ships, the children whispered to each other as they finally realized they were free. Some hugged, some laughed, some stared at faces they did not yet remember but knew they could trust. Human soldiers smiled quietly, keeping watch, ensuring no harm could reach them. For the first time, the children felt safe. Across the galaxy, other species observed in fear and awe. The Kraith had been arrogant. They had believed humans were builders, dreamers, weak creatures. They were wrong. Humanity was neither loud nor reckless. Humanity was patient, deliberate, and unstoppable when its own were threatened. On the bridges of human ships, officers checked systems one last time before beginning the journey home. They would carry the children back to their families, back to Earth, back to colonies across the stars. Every step was careful, every maneuver precise. No mistakes. Every life mattered. In orbit around the last Kraith planet, the human commander gave a single order: hold position and wait. Sensors reported faint movements in the atmosphere, shadows of those who had survived the initial assaults. Humanity was ready. Every crew member knew that while destruction could come fast, control was the true measure of strength. Humanity's wrath had been slow, deliberate, measured, and it had been enough. On Earth, human leaders prepared for the return of the children. Families waited silently, hope burning quietly in their hearts. They did not shout. They did not panic. They had learned the lesson of patience, of waiting for the exact moment to act. In the depths of space, the remaining Kraith tried to flee. Small ships, carrying desperate families and leaders, moved through hidden corridors and unmonitored paths. Humanity had anticipated this. Fleets positioned themselves silently, blocking escape without violence. Captures were made carefully. No unnecessary deaths. Lessons were enforced, not chaos. The Supreme Overseer's final messages, intercepted too late, were empty threats, meaningless now. Humanity had proven the rule: harm human children, and extinction follows. On the flagship, the commander finally spoke to the crews assembled for the final leg of the journey. "We do not rejoice in this," he said. "We act because some lines cannot be crossed. We protect what is ours. Humanity has spoken, and the galaxy has heard. Return the children. Restore their world. And remember this day. Let it mark the moment the Kraith learned their mistake." Soldiers whispered their acknowledgement, voices steady. They had seen what restraint could do, what controlled wrath could achieve. In the corridors of human ships, children began to laugh quietly, unsure why they felt so safe, but feeling it deeply for the first time. They were returning home. Humanity moved slowly now, not in fear, but in care. The galaxy watched, silent. Other species trembled. They understood that human wrath was patient, deliberate, and precise. It was not loud, but unstoppable. It was not fast, but absolute. As the transports lifted from the last Kraith world, carrying the children to freedom, humanity made its final move. Systems were secured, remaining threats neutralized, and paths home cleared. No human life was lost unnecessarily. No child was left behind. And in the emptiness of space, the message reached every corner of the galaxy: you hurt human children, you risk your species. Extinction is not a threat. It is a certainty. The human commander looked at the stars ahead. The children would return. Families would reunite. Peace would be restored. Humanity had fought, not for vengeance, not for glory, but for its own. And the galaxy would remember this day forever. The stars were quiet, the fleets moving home, carrying lessons, carrying justice, carrying the small voices of the future. Humanity's final stand had ended, but the law they had enforced would echo across the stars for all time. Harm human children, and you erase yourself from existence.